time for Bryan's Lunch Truck, Carpinteria's new live radio show heard every Thursday at noon. Join us now as Bryan welcomes Jamie Collins and Kenya Rodriguez from Girls Inc.
Yeah, my name is Jamie Collins. I'm the Executive Director for Girls Inc. of Carpinteria. I've been there about 4 years, and it's a full circle moment for me. I attended Girls Inc. in the early 90s, so it's really nice to be back in a way. Our mission is to inspire girls to be strong, smart, and bold with a vision of empowered girls in an equitable society.
Who can argue with that?
Right?
I'm sure somebody can.
No
And
way.
Kenya, would you like to introduce yourself and your role at Girls Inc.?
Yeah, my name is Kenya Rodriguez, and I'm the Programs Director. I have been at Girls Inc. for coming up on 8 years,
Wow.
but I was actually a Girls Inc. girl myself, too. So I was a commuter kid going to school in Santa Barbara, living in Ventura, and Carpinteria was our sweet little spot that we would stop. And I started volunteering, going to programs, and Girls Inc. has grabbed onto my heart since then.
Was that kind of a after-school program at Girls Inc. that you went to?
Yeah. I started going. I actually got signed up reluctantly by my mom for a summer camp, and then after that, I would go after school to volunteer, and Girls Inc. became one of my first official jobs too.
Wow. And Girls Inc. has been around for about 52 years, correct? Mm-hmm. And has been in Carpinteria for 50 years.
Girls Inc. as a national organization has been around since 1864.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay,
so very long time. Locally here, about between 50 and 52 years now.
Well, fantastic. Coming on, your age of the girls are 13 or 12 to 18? Or younger, I'm sorry, you told me earlier.
5 to 18, so we serve all school age.
See, this is why I'm not a doctor. Can you? I can't. You told me like 2 minutes ago. This is useless. Dennis, am I useless? That's not a no.
No, sir.
That's kind of an uncomfortable laugh, which with my upbringing, I'm going to take as a yes. Anyway, so you talk about. Okay, let's say that. What do you feel girls are facing right now? Their biggest challenge.
I would say that the biggest issue that girls are facing right now is they're in the middle of a mental health crisis. There is just, especially with the pandemic, so many girls and young women just found themselves without the resources that they would regularly have, without their regular interactions with peers and with mentors, with adults. It really just isolated girls. And so right now, our big focus is really giving girls the tools and the resources to be able to manage the stress of what's going on in their daily lives. So whether it's the typical, stress that we would imagine girls deal with, peer conflict and all of that, or in messages that girls receive from the media, we're giving them everything that they need to be able to combat negative messages and really feel empowered to, if they see something in their community or, in their world that she has the power to change it.
I'm going to ask, now it might somewhat come across as a silly question. I don't mean it. Do you see that need? I mean, with the girls here in Carpinteria, do you see, so their concerns, their troubles, I know that sounds, I don't mean to sound like that, are basically the same as across the nation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no difference. In other words, we live in a great little small town, but yet we have the same issues.
And we were approached last year, actually, to do some intervention work at our local middle school here. So last year we implemented an after-school program targeting middle school girls to help basically build resilience and peer conflict resolution skills and substance abuse prevention and all of these things that, not all of our families in Carpinteria are the most positive. And so if you have a girl who's stuck at home for multiple years trying to learn on Zoom, taking care of younger siblings, that might be in an abusive household, that trauma is something that really sticks through and then comes out when they're at school. And so we're really trying to, again, help girls develop the skills so that they can be healthy, educated, and independent.
Are you finding... I'm assuming because parents are taking their daughters to Girls Inc., the parents are supportive. Are you finding the community has supportive parents?
Definitely. And, sometimes it takes a little extra, selling of our program just to let parents know that we're not just an after-school program. We're not here just to keep your kids safe. Obviously, safety is one of our top priorities, but we're really here as an enrichment program. We want to enrich girls' lives. We want to introduce them to things that they're not getting during the school day. just make sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful.
Fantastic. We're going to play a couple songs. The first song will be Alicia Keys' Girl on Fire, and she rips on this. Then we're going to play Katie Lang's Pulling in the Reins, and Katie Lang has come out almost a generation ago, if not longer, as gay, as lesbian. But I want to talk about our choices of songs as a male, and as your choice as a song as a younger female and working with girls, and the differences, what I thought might be empowerment and was at the time. And I just want I'm going to kind of go through the differences, because I noticed that your songs were about empowerment, where the songs I chose were about women who made their own way, but not necessarily overtly saying X. So, let's start off with Alicia Keys, starting off with Girl on Fire, which is a great song. And then, of course, Katie Lang, Pulling on the Reins. All right, this is Carpenter Valley Radio. This is Bryan's Lunch Truck. Our first song with Alicia Keys, Girl on Fire, and she just rips that. Great voice, fantastic voice. The second song was Katie Lang, Pulling Back the Reins. I said Pulling on the Reins, and kind of when you ride, you do both, but that's still incorrect. And the album for that was Absolute Torch and Twang. That's actually one of my favorite discs. And we're here with Jamie Collins and Kenya Rodriguez from Girls Inc. And we're talking about some of the issues that young girls are facing today. And of course, the CDC just came out with their study showing that a high percentage, 60% of girls are feeling depressed, if not up to the level of suicidal. And I was talking to friends of mine. I go, if you can knock that down 50%, that's still 30%. You still have a lot. A lot of issues have to do with online trolling by both boys and girls. And I want to talk to you about that. If you can answer these questions, how much, what's the word, not teasing, but I can't think of the word now, all of a sudden, that men, harassment, would say, from boys, do you see that has been continuous, if not more intense, because of the internet? Or can you answer that? I know, not all.
I don't know that I can speak to it. Kenya might be able to speak to it a little bit more directly. Specifically, we have some programs at Girls Inc. that, support girls through kind of media education and literacy. I do know that I often am very thankful that I grew up in a time and place where bullying stayed at school and didn't follow us home. And so that's something that even just in my older nieces and nephews and the girls that I've worked with at Girls Inc. is just seeing how persistent it can be, because social media is with you. So not being able to truly retreat to a safe place, whether that's an after-school program or your house or hanging out with friends, having that kind of consistently follow you is a real beatdown during very informative years.
Right. Kenya?
Yeah, no, I think what Jamie said is spot on, right? Is that bullying, harassment, it's always existed. There's a study out there that says that the average age that a girl gets catcalled or starts getting sexually harassed is around the age of 10.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And
I'm not laughing. I'm kind of shocked.
Right. And those are the lived experiences of girls and women, right? And we think about bullying, right? That, like what Jamie was saying, is that used to stay at school. But, we're seeing more and more as, technology becomes a bigger part of our lives, especially young kids' lives. It doesn't stop at home. And, especially how we talk about social media with girls is once it's out there, it's out there. And it's really hard to take back what you've said, what you've done, what other people have said or done online. It's there forever, really. And so that's why we do have programs at Girls Inc. We have our Girls Inc. Media Literacy program, and that starts at age 6, where we start unpacking, right? Like, what are these commercials about? And, why do girls have to wear pink? And as they get older, we start tackling, bigger issues of, why are girls sexualized in commercials? Or why are women, only seen as quote unquote objects, when selling, different products, and unpacking music and music videos and social media posts. And, while students may be getting some of this at school, or maybe a conversation here and there with parents of, we don't watch that, or maybe, hey, this is not appropriate. At Girls Inc., we're able to have those conversations, and girls themselves, will call out what they like, what they don't like, and be able to reject and understand, right, that there's nothing wrong with them, that there's just these bigger powers at play that, don't always take into consideration what a young girl is actually going through.
Can you give an example of perhaps what you've been told, obviously not going to names, but what you found the girls at Girls Inc. who've been confiding in you, what they've told you, what bothers them? About what they see, say, on commercials, videos, so forth. Even TikTok, there of other females, and on the hacks to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Have they taught? What have you heard has been the most troublesome in a way?
Yeah, I would say, girls will often, complain that why is there a focus on the way that we look? Or, why are we always being sold these certain products where maybe boys and men, aren't being targeted with, these types of products. Especially as girls get older, they really start becoming aware of things like the pink tax of, hey, why are women's razors a lot more expensive than men's? Right. So those are definitely some of the conversations.
I want to know why.
Yeah. We're not sure, but we want to do something about it.
Right. It's interesting. As a male and as an older male, I found, because I'm married to a very strong, independent woman, very well-educated woman, well-traveled woman, that I don't notice a lot of indicators, or I don't even think about it, or I grew up, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And can you tell us maybe what you find offensive that I might not find offensive in a way, or what you find damaging that a male might not, so we can be more aware, right? Because I've had my wife come back a conversation, and I've heard the conversation, and she's livid because somehow maybe that tone was condescending, but I did not catch it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that perhaps?
I don't know that I'd be able to give you like a very specific example. I do know that there's a lot in women and what we're taught to do, and smile and nod, or if a older man makes an inappropriate comment, smile and nod it away. All of these things that for like my generation growing up is what we were taught.
Right.
That is not okay. It's not okay for us to grin and bear it through inappropriate comments or touches or tones, or when women are introduced in the media, rather than just saying, this doctor said, it's always like a female doctor. Okay. Well, why does that gender have anything to do? If it was a man, you wouldn't say this male doctor.
Exactly. So these are little cues that we miss completely, and a lot of it is written by us, by the way. Mm-hmm. Even though more and more women are making films, commercials, writing from the ground up, so we still have probably a preponderance of influence on that. And I might bore you with a story because that's what I do, and it's a generational this is okay kind of thing. My wife, and was talking to her like her American mom, her real estate agent, and Vonnie's a very successful woman, a very independent woman, strong-willed woman. Don't get me wrong, but she's also now 84. And they're talking about the workplace and what Vonnie would put up with, which was touching, almost like, oh, yeah, you always got touched on the bum, things like that. People always make comments. My wife would never have put up with. What my wife would put up with, somebody 30 years old, when I say put up with, like, might be a comment, it might be something, like, it might be what, not innocuous, but dealt with as an innocuous factor. Somebody 25 or 30 would not, which is, you can't argue with that progress, which is good, but obviously there's still that need, as the new CDC study showed. And back to the CDC study, I don't know if you can answer this. Is it the same for women in Europe, England, France, Germany? For girls, do they have the same high level of anxiety, depression, thoughts of suicide, or do you know?
I don't know the specific studies. I do know Spain just released, they now offer menstrual leave for women. So it's the first country to offer that. So there's definitely a lot of other countries that are more progressive in women's rights, definitely, unfortunately, than our own.
And what do you see? And I have opinion what I see in this country, and I hope I don't insult too many people out there. How many people are out there listening? But I don't really like what I see. There's a lot of things I'm seeing that are not healthy and damaging. And to me, it's in a way want to put girls and women back. And I'm not just saying it because you're here. Set it back. It's a backlash to a movement, and to a movement is really, to me, harmless. It's called independence, respect, and so forth. Do you feel that has an effect, even though we live in California, on your girls?
Oh, 100%. And, the Girls Inc. as a national organization is really uniquely positioned in that we actually work to advance the rights for girls and women. So we actually have advocacy priorities that we hold near and dear to our missions work. And in that, it's educating girls about, hey, if you move to Texas, you might not have the same healthcare access, or if you move to Florida and you identify as LBGT or Q, like you won't have all of these. So, part of our work is making sure that girls know what's going on around the world, but also, like Kenya said earlier, empowering them and uplifting them and giving them the tools and resources to use their voices to make that change. So while California is, right now a fairly great state to live in and has a lot of rights for women and protective and a safe state and all of that, what goes on around the world affects the girls that we work with, not just because of their rights, but because of their peers and their friends. And, we always say, like, you can't just uplift one woman, we have to uplift them all,
Right, and you feel, I feel there's I always think there's a backlash. That's all, I can't think of another word for a term for backlash. And we're talking about was it drag queen story time, and I don't have children, so but I was thinking, if my son or daughter came home, why does a guy want to dress up as a girl? I was like, I don't know. Sorry. I mean, really, I find that if you make a huge deal out of something, it's an unnecessary huge deal, and I find what we're seeing is kind of a backlash that's. Like you said, it does have damaging effects on the psyche of young girls, women on the whole, And I want to talk to you. It's interesting. I mentioned earlier, your songs all have this image. I am strong, no matter what I am. Songs, and in fact, the next song we'll be playing will be from because I have will be Emmy Melly or Mealy. Okay, nobody knows, and I apologize for that, Emmy. If you're out there for some reason listening, love the video, and the song is "I Am Woman," and I did a little research, so I watched two videos. I watched her Vivo official video, and then I watched her kind of what she was trying to get across video, and it has all her friends. It has a lot of women, handicapped, black, gay, trans, everything, weightlifting, and it's basically saying, this is me, take it or leave it. And I think what she is saying, if you can take this, accept me for I am, here I am, as a friend, as a lover, as a compatriot, whatever. But here I am, but you have to accept me. Going back to Helen Reddy, I Am Woman was kind of like a different, cleaner version, kind of like I'm out of the bag. As where we are, because you said you can't put us back. It was kind of first, and I remember when that song came out, I don't know what the social reaction to it was, but it was played quite a bit. But it was kind of a more cleaner version. This is kind of more in your face, which is okay. And then I decided to go back even further. I went to the Share Hour, and it was her and Raquel Welch doing I Am Woman, or the Woman song. And it had to be, obviously I'm written by a man, but it had to be their empowerment as a woman through housekeeping. And their big worry before they came on stage, because off stage miking was, script was I broke my nail last night, my hair's not ready. And I'm thinking, God, this is, and I'm going to go back up pretty low. I go, wow, this is archaic. This is kind of insulting.
That's when the term women's lib was still in vogue.
Yeah, and women's lib, I think, was taken, like feminism was used in a derogatory way.
Right.
It's kind of thrown back at you. You're a women's libber. You're a feminist. Which, anything else, it's like Black Lives Matter. Anything, there's a backlash to anything coming up like that. But the interesting part was that those women, Cher and Raquel Welch, did break barriers, did set trends, did show people that they did control mostly their own career. But it wasn't like it is today. And the songs I picked, we have Roseanne Cash, we have Katie Lang, and then we have MIA. All are Roseanne Cash broke out on her own from her dad's shadow. Katie Lang, I said earlier, came out as gay, I think, 30 years ago. Mia, who's now 40, MIA is, I think, 40, has been a kind of a headbanger person in your face, for that long period.
Political refugee.
Yes, and a political refugee.
Yeah.
That's right. Her father was a Tamil Tiger, which was a revolution that in Sri Lanka that killed between 30 and 100,000 people. One of the many wars that we can talk about that we don't know about, again, where women are victimized in a lot of ways that are not as, it is recognized, but not, the horror isn't quite fully settled in by a lot of people. We think of X as war. We don't realize some of the set programs of, let's say, rape, attacking up to murder against women as not only a physical, but a psychological factor in the war. But your songs are kind of like, boom. And I'm going to go back and ask, is it necessary to have that message again and again and again? Do you feel it is? And
I think unfortunately so, because obviously people aren't understanding it. Like, we're here. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
Like, we have voices. We are powerful. We will change the world. Like,
right.
Start treating us equally.
And so what do you find, what bothers you, or what can I say, what have you noticed about ages of men, maybe, and I don't know how they're 25, 30, 35, up to older. Is there a change in men? Is there a change of attitude? Because I'm seeing a lot of aggression and a lot of potential violence on younger men. The incel movement. I don't know if you heard about Gamergate. Gamergate was female game designers kind of put out a podcast or a notice that they just felt a lot of gaming was immature. And if you look at the ads, it's always kind of violent. And of course, the girls are, it's some kind of body armor that fits this body, doesn't really exist, so forth. And of course, the backlash was virulent. Up to you had to be, changing of addresses, changing of identity, and so forth. So it really hasn't changed. But I guess I could say that, but I'm not on the other end of it. So it's easy for me to say. So do you see that? Do you see that here? Do you see that in the girls? I think I'm asking this question in a different way, but it's so serious. Do you see that happening, affecting the girls you work with, you deal with?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah. So, maybe we are dealing with a different generation of boys and men, but some of those values are passed on in our culture and our society. But I do think that boys are, another population, young boys are, also need programs like Girls Inc. to really unpack what it means to be a boy, to be a man in this country and in our society. And I think people are a lot more comfortable having those conversations with young men now. And young men are having these conversations as well, right? Really, taking a deep dive into masculinity and knowing that, having a strong woman partner or, working alongside strong women, does not take away anything in their masculinity. So I think, there is a positive side that we can see. These conversations are happening.
Yeah, it might be too. I remember at work, I had a conversation with, and we got along great. And he turned out to be a very happily married guy after his second divorce. He changed. But I remember we sat down and we were just talking about marriage and so forth. And he goes, and he wanted to know how much my wife made. And I told him. And he goes, I can never be married to a woman who made more money than I did. And I was like, this is in 1920.
So women who
1922.
There is a recent study that women who make more money if they're married to a man are still, I think it's like 60 to 65% more likely to get divorced because there's still that like underlying tone of.
There is. I'm gonna, and I mean that.
Watch it now.
There's an adjustment. Maybe not for somebody younger in their 30s. Again, back it seemed to be generational. Talk to somebody 40, 35, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't care. Make more money, please."
Yeah.
But there is that, like you said, there still is that. It's an adjustment. And I think I'm a well-adjusted person. I think Dennis is a well-adjusted person. He laughs. But there is, and I don't want to insult you, but there is an adjustment to it. And I've found, I think maybe Lorraine and my wife, they wouldn't put up with much. So I asked Carolyn, my wife, I go, what would you do if I told you I want to be a philandering alcoholic poet? And she goes, get the fuck out of here. I go, you wouldn't even give me, she goes, no, why would I do that? So there was one of my life's goals thrown out right there.
Dang.
But dang, I know. But it's true though. I mean, and it's true. It's an education, and it's kind of, you have to set your priorities. I find that, again, my wife wouldn't put up she'll put up with stupid humor, but she won't put up with certain activities. She won't put up with attitude. I can't do that. And I had to adjust. I had to kind of make a conscious adjustment. And I think the younger you do that, the better. And I know with my compatriots, when we get together and drink, which we do, we start talking about younger men, and they're not feeling the stereotype that I grew up with, and we still kind of go, wow, what is wrong? And I apologize, but it's just in there. And there's really, deep down, there's nothing wrong, but we still say it.
Everyone always evolves. We're constantly evolving,
right.
Humans,
Right. And so do you see that talk going on with younger men, with their by parents or peers? You see what it, or is it the influence of the LGBTQ community on straight males? Is it a melding that you see these people, a change of attitude, a change of what a man is in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been more media kind of coverage around, uplifting men as well, and letting little boys have feelings, and it's okay to cry if they get hurt.
Really? Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, it is. It's
okay.
Be vulnerable. All of that.
Really?
But it's a mix of, again, like Kenya said, it all really depends on how intentional your family wants to be in letting you hear that, because there's also cultural differences, right, and that history, and sometimes the history and generational and cultural pressure is just so deep that it's going to take a long time to really shift the narrative.
Longer than you expected?
Well, I also didn't think women's rights would be stripped away,
Right. Well,
in the past year,
I want to, let's go to some music. I want to talk to you about that, and I'm not disagreeing, and I'm kind of amazed, the setback to when maybe people thought when America was great. Now, I don't know one woman or one person of color. In Carpenter, I don't know that many people of color, but at work, when we've talked about this, not one person said they want to go back to 1962 America.
No.
Not one. Yeah, I've worked with this girl on Feud, and she sat next to me, and she was a girl. She's like 24, and she goes, I have 48 bobby pins in my hair. And I go, that's when America was great. And she goes, and she just looked at me, and she goes, fuck that. That was great. So, hey, on that note, let's go to the first song. I'll get my phone ready here. My goodness. I Am Woman by Emmy Melly. And the video is a pretty good video. And again, it's Accept Me For I Am. And the message I'm getting is accept me for I am, and we're good. We're good. To me, it's really simple.
Yeah.
I don't see the conflict. I don't see the back. I don't understand it, but there is. So we'll do Emmy Melly first, or Mealy, or Mealy. I'm so sorry if you're listening out there. If you are, tell all your friends that I did not make this mistake. I Am Woman. Then we're going to listen to MIA, Paper Planes. All right, guys. This is Bryan Moots, CarpenterValleyRadio.com. Let's hit it. All right, how you doing? This is Bryan. It's Bryan's Lunch Truck, CarpenterValleyRadio.com. The last song was MIA, Paper Planes. And after that, I'm going back to my phone. My phone never said, why did I do this? I Am Woman by Emmy Melly, which is a great song. Let's go back. Let's kind of get off this kind of intense subject, if you don't mind. We'll end up not on a lighter note per se, but tell me about the programs you have. So I'm a parent. I come in. What programs do you have for my 13-year-old?
Yeah, so we have programs for girls ages 5 to 18, and all of our programs fit into the 3 categories. They are either strong, smart, or bold programs. So our strong programs have an emphasis on giving girls the skills to live a healthy life. So whether that's, a cooking class or, basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, letting them try out all the different sports and, really giving them a safe space where they don't have to compete with the boys. So then that way, when they do go back to the school playground, they're really confident in their skills.
They can compete with the boys.
Yeah. And all of our SMART programs are with the goal to have girls be educated. And so that takes on a variety of meanings for, whatever the girls really want. We just want them to have goals and want them to think about their futures. So one of the things that we know would be really beneficial for them and for the world really is to get more women into STEM. So we do have a really...
Tell us what STEM is.
It's STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so, getting girls into, or women into that field is something that we know we need the more variety and diversity that we have of people, who are the creators of all of the things that we're going to need in the future. The more points of view that we have, the better. So we encourage girls to get into non-traditional fields and try it out and and just to think about what their future will look like.
I want to be a devil's advocate because I've heard this before, and I've heard it from school friends, and very, very conservative, and we're still friends of mine, but very conservative. And I don't mean to make all conservatives sound like this. Why is diversity important?
Yeah.
Jamie, you want to take a stab at this one?
Yeah. So, it's to lend different perspectives, basically. And everybody has different lived experiences. I know, you're not going to learn anything new if you're only surrounding yourself by people who have a similar thinking, because that creates groupthink. So really diversity, especially like in the workplace and in schools and in any educational or professional setting, really it's important to be able to be representative of your community or your constituents or who you're selling products to. And you can't do that if you're all thinking the same.
I find that... which is difficult here, again, in LA, I'm working with a lot of times like a large African-American cast or, stereotypes are broken. And I find if you don't have that diversity, a lot of times stereotypes just persist. Mm-hmm. They just don't get broken, and we need that. And there's been several times I've worked with African-Americans, and at my age, by the way, I still say trouble saying black. I have to admit, but African-Americans. So I apologize to anybody out there who says, wow, he is behind the times, because I am in a lot of ways. But stereotypes are always broken. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize you have them. This is something that I don't want to, bring them up too often. C.K. Lewis brought about. I call it soft. He calls it soft racism. Mm-hmm. And there might be soft anti-feminism without knowing it. Like, I can't believe she did that. She's a woman type thing, And it was always broke. I realized a lot that,
so we now call it unconscious bias.
Yes.
It's these things that are kind of inherently in you because of your culture, how you were raised, or things that because you grew up in a community that didn't have a lot of diversity or whatever. And so you bring in these unconscious biases into your everyday life. And until you're either called out on it or you educate yourself or something happens, you just truly might not be aware of that. And so that's our, I'm a white female that runs an organization whose primary constituents are Hispanic. And so I have to do a lot of self-think and lean on my peers and try and figure out, like, how can I best serve the community? And for me, that's hiring a diverse team, and that's, bringing in programs that reflect diversity and all of that. So it's continual, and you have to keep being comfortable with being uncomfortable and recognizing your weak spots and what you don't know.
Yeah, I hit it with a non-ending sense of humor. And I remember I was in Jamaica, which was I'm not going to talk about that trip because you'll kill me. But it was a great trip in a lot of ways. I was 25, and I was in Kingston. Why I'm walking around Kingston, I don't know. Oh, marijuana. That's right. Anyway, I was walking, and I'll never forget. I turned this corner, and there was 3 black guys, 3 African American, 3 Jamaicans, excuse me, and I was like, whoa. 3 black guys. And this is what I said to myself. And I did. I go, wow, 3 black guys. And I went, wait, hold it. The whole country. The whole country's dark. What am I doing? What am I thinking?
They're thinking, one guy.
They're kind of going, oh, there's one crazy white guy. There he is. Away from the resort, lost and scared. Look at him. But the unconscious bias is maybe the hardest thing to get rid of. And I don't know if you can comment on this. Does unconscious bias, if you comment, does that lead to action? Bias-based action.
Yeah, and there's this whole, there's like another term that is, I'm going to get the words wrong, but I think it's like intent over impact. So your unconscious bias could lead you to have an action or make a decision, and your intent is good.
Right.
You're intending like, oh, I'm going to bring this program and it's going to be so great. But the impact on your actual constituents or the decision that you made might not be good. And again, it's really important to have that diverse perspective around you so someone can be like, hey, whoa, slow down. Like, I know your intentions are good, but the actual impact of what that decision's going to make is not okay.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of a tough. It's kind of a tough one to get a handle on, I would say. On something more prosaic, how would somebody get their child into Girls Inc., and do you have any openings?
Yeah, so we do have some openings, and right now we are going to actually start our summer registration starting next week. So what is that, Monday?
Yeah.
March 6th.
Going by fast,
is our summer registration, yeah. But for our school year program, we do have some openings in select age groups, and to sign up, you can visit our website, girlsinc-carp.org, or you can give us a call, 805-684-6364.
That's a landline.
Office.
That is a landline.
Yes, it is.
Repeat that again. This is for all those people out there.
805-684-6364. Yeah. Or you can always come into our office, take a tour, and find out a little bit more about our programs.
Can the kids go year to year, say from 13 to 14 to 15 to 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our whole point is trying to get kids in kindergarten and help coach them all the way through high school. So we have a continuum of programs. Something else I want to mention, and something we were talking about earlier, is Girls Inc. is here for the community. We have 4 values. Community is one of our values as an organization: inclusion, intentionality, and bold advocacy. And so with community, we're always looking for ways to partner with the community. And obviously we don't have a community center in Carpinteria or anything like that. And so a couple of the ways that we've done that is we offer our facility up for facility rentals. So if you're looking for a place to have a birthday party or a quinceañera or a wedding or a corporate picnic,
right.
We have a beautiful space on campus with a full commercial kitchen. And one of our newest ways is we're partnering with the city of Carpinteria to launch a pilot program for a senior center. So we will not be the senior center, but we will be a caveat for that program to kind of find what the community needs and what our aging adults need to be successful in Carpinteria. So that program launches March 14th.
Oh, wow.
And it will be every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the Girls Inc.
Dennis, we're aging adults.
So come on and check it out.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You probably have already had it happen.
Aging adults in denial.
Yes. Yeah. I do. Seriously. I look at photos of me when I was 30. I was like, wow, that's me.
Yeah.
I only look at photos of me when
What the
I was
hell
30.
happened?
It's not easy. But I don't feel... Yeah, fuck it. I kind of do.
I gave up that.
I feel like a youngster. Forget it. You know what? No. The many trips I make to the bathroom in the day. You know what? No. I get my steps in.
Good. Yeah. There's that.
My doctor says just drink 2 more glasses of water and you'll be at 10,000 steps. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
So we have just a couple minutes left. Let's end this with a song by Haley Steinfeld, called "Most Girls."
Yeah,
it's a good song.
Neat little video too,
and it's a cool video. Yeah, right. And before we go, because I think we're all the time, Jamie, thank you. Kenya, thank you. Appreciate it, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for educating and enlightening all of us about what Girls Inc. does and the necessity of it. Unfortunately, in a lot of ways, but you're empowering a lot of people. You're making the world a better place.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're not. Dennis and I aren't. But you are. Okay, here we go. Yes.
Bryan's Lunch Truck pulls in every Thursday at noon Pacific at CarpinteriaValleyRadio.com.